What's up guys, my name is Scott and you're watching Kentucky Ballistics. And today we're going to do 500 Magnum versus 4570 in ballistic gel. We're going to use a rifle and a revolver for both the 500 Magnum and the 4570. For the 500 Magnum we have a Smith & Wesson Performance Center with a 10.5 inch barrel. And for the 4570 we have a Magnum Research BFR with a 10 inch barrel. The rifle that we're going to use for the 500 Magnum is a Bighorn Armory Model 89 with an 18 inch barrel. And the rifle we're going to use for the 4570 is a Henry all-weather lever action with an 18 inch barrel. The ammo that we're using today was sent to us by our friends over at DoubleTap Ammunition. For the 500 Magnum we have a 275 grain Barnes XPB. And for the 4570 we have a 300 grain Barnes TSX. Before filming I chronographed this ammunition using the rifles and the revolvers. I took 5 shots with each rifle and revolver. When using the Smith & Wesson Performance Center 500 Magnum revolver, we had an average of 1,969 feet per second. Then when using the Bighorn Armory Model 89 chambered in 500 Magnum, we had an average of 2,244 feet per second. So using the same ammunition, the bullet was traveling on average 275 feet per second faster coming out of the rifle. For the 4570, when using the Magnum Research BFR with a 10 inch barrel, we had an average of 1,724 feet per second. Then when using the Henry all-weather lever action with an 18 inch barrel, we had an average of 1,857 feet per second. So for the 4570, using the same ammunition, on average the bullet was traveling 133 feet per second faster in the rifle. So like I already said, we're going to be shooting ballistic gel in today's video. I have 4 16-inch blocks of 10% ballistic gel. We will use 2 blocks for the pistols and 2 blocks for the rifles. I can't think of anything else to tell you, so now let's get started. Okay, let's get started. We got our ballistic gel set up. We're going to begin with the pistols. We're going to start out with the 500 Smith & Wesson Magnum. And again, we're loaded up with a DoubleTap 275 grain Barnes XPB. And we're going to be shooting about 7 yards back from the gel. So here's a quick look at the wound channel of the 500 Smith & Wesson Magnum. But before we measure or anything like that, let's go ahead and shoot it with the 4570 as well. So now let's hit it with 4570. We're going to be using a Magnum Research BFR. And again, we're loaded up with a DoubleTap 300 grain Barnes TSX. Okay, well that almost went as planned. So I hit exactly where I wanted to hit. 500 Magnum, 4570 right next to it. And then that way we can compare wound channels, but the 4570 had other plans. It decided to curve off to the right and it shot out the side of the block. So now what we're going to do is we're going to measure the 500 Magnum wound channel and we'll measure the 4570 wound channel, what we have of it. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to flip these blocks around so that this one's in the front. And then we're going to try to hit right here. And that way we'll have nothing but fresh gel. For the 500 Magnum, we have a wound channel that measures in at 24.5 inches. And before the 4570 shot out of the block, looks like we're right around 29.5 inches. Here's our 2 wound channels. You have the 500 Magnum on top, the 4570 on the bottom. Okay, let's try again. I think we got it. Dang, we got it. Just didn't have enough gel. Oh my goodness. So we hit low just like I wanted to. We stayed in fresh gel the entire time. The bullet never went into another wound channel where the gel is already damaged. The 500 Magnum went through 24.5 inches of gel, and the 4570 went through all 32 inches of gel. And here's your look at the wound channel. and we had absolutely beautiful expansion from this bullet. Let's dig out that 500 Magnum bullet. .500 Magnum bullet is peeled back pretty far. Okay, now it's time to move on to the rifles. Two things. One, you'll notice that one of the ballistic gel blocks is kind of brown. And that's because it's an old block, and that's what happens when you break them down and remelt them 10 or 12 times. It's not as clear anymore and starts to become yellow. But the consistency does not change. So the consistency of the old block is the same as the new block. I only had 3 new blocks. I used 2 for the pistols. Now we have 1 new block and 1 old block for the rifles. So I wanted to let you know that. And 2, I don't know if we're going to catch these bullets. The 500 Magnum almost went through both blocks, and the 4570 did go through both blocks. So just in case they do both blow through both blocks, I have some phone books set up behind them. That way maybe we'll catch the bullet. So we're going to start out with the 500 Magnum. We have a Bighorn Armory model 89. And we're going to be using the same ammo as we used before. Okay, so first of all, a few pieces of our bullet broke off and shot out of the block. Okay, again, before we measure, I'm going to go ahead and hit it with the 4570. Hopefully this time it goes as planned and it stays straight and doesn't decide to deviate right and shoot out the side of the block. But before we do that, here's a quick look at the wound channel of the 500 Magnum. Okay, now we're moving on to the 4570. We have a Henry all-weather lever action, and we're going to be using the same ammunition as we did before. Huh. Interesting. So it turns out we did not need the phone books. I know it's hard to see into this block, but here's the 500 Magnum wound channel and here's the 4570 wound channel. So the 500 Magnum wound channel measures in at 22.5 inches. And the 4570 wound channel is right around 31 inches. So here's a quick look at the bullets. This is the 500 Smith & Wesson Magnum 275 grain Barnes that was shot out of the Revolver. We had good expansion. Looks like the bullet held together well. Here's the same projectile shot out of the rifle. And this was moving a whole lot faster, and it caused the bullet to break up. And now for the 4570 here, this is the 300 grain Barnes. This was shot out of the Revolver. Good expansion. Looks like it did pretty well. And then here's the same projectile that was shot out of the rifle. And again, we had really good expansion. But you can tell a difference between these two. You can see here the one on the right that was shot out of the rifle. It expanded more than the one on the left that was shot out of the Revolver. Now we're going to weigh the bullets. This is the 500 Smith & Wesson Magnum 275 grain Barnes that was shot from the Revolver. We have a reading of 274.5 grains. Now the same projectile that was shot out of the rifle. And we have a reading of 166.9 grains. Now for the 4570, this is the 300 grain Barnes that was shot from the Revolver. And we have a reading of 300 grains. Now the same projectile that was shot from the rifle. And we have a reading of 299.6 grains. And now we're going to take a few measurements. So here's the 500 Smith & Wesson Magnum, 275 grain Barnes that was fired from the Revolver. .810, .851, and .827. And now the same projectile that was fired from the rifle. We have .653, .681, and .656. Now the 4570, this is the 300 grain Barnes that was fired from the Revolver. .787, .760, and .773. And now the same projectile fired from the rifle. .763, .732, and .713. Well, that pretty much wraps it up. I was really excited to make today's video and I had a lot of fun. I want to say thank you to our friends over at Magnum Research, Bighorn Armory, and DoubleTap Ammunition for making today's video possible. If you enjoyed today's video, be sure to give it a like and subscribe to the channel. If you're a new subscriber, make sure you hit that little bell at the top. It's going to give you notifications when we upload new videos. I wanted to let you know that you can now find Kentucky Ballistics over on the Reloaders Network. It's a website that's dedicated to just firearms content. If that's something that might interest you, I'll leave a link in the description down below. Also, be sure to check out Kentucky Ballistics clothing and check us out on Patreon, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Links to all those are in the description down below, or you can find them over on our website, KentuckyBallistics.com. Again, my name is Scott. Thank you for watching Kentucky Ballistics, and I'll see you next time.